it's almost a teach rather than a preach, but it is from God. I want to work with you on this because I really want to build up the house, and it should be on all of our hearts to build up the house. The Lord gives special gifts to build up the house. Is that all right?
Yes.
And Brother Mark, I was sitting there watching you this morning, and I was watching you teach up here, and the Lord say that you won't rise, you won't fall on your own accord.
Yes.
What that means is and this goes for all of you that is employed in this house, because you are employed by God right now.
Yes.
If you're teaching in this house, if you're teaching them children, if you're teaching the team, if you're in the choir, whatever it is, you are employed by God.
Yes.
And what it is you will rise and you will fall on your own accord.
Yes.
That means I want you to understand this. If you get out there and you start calling in, it's just like a job. You don't come and you don't study all week, then you probably won't be here for me, and I'll be sent from God to remove you of your position. But as long as you are doing your job and you're trying your best, God's going to promote you. The promotion will come from God Almighty. Is that all right? Because He see what you're doing out there during the week. He see you trying hard. He see you praying for the children. He see you studying those times. That's the things that the Lord is seeing what you're doing, all right? He even told me, and earlier I was praying to Him, and I was talking to Him, and He showed me the story, said that even though you never had children yourself, but because you teach in that classroom, you had many children. You had many children, and you taught those children, you trained those children up the way they shall grow, and when they grow older, they will not depart from it. Amen. And I thank God for that. When He showed me that you had many children. And it would be an honor to have a mother like you. Amen. I just thank God for that. But He showed me that with each and every one of you. But I got to work with you on these fivefold ministry and these gifts in which He imparts to the church house, because every one of them is to build the church up. Amen. Amen. It's to edify the church. And the thing of it is, I want to work with you on this because each of them are to operate inside the church house to edify it. And the thing that I would like to work with you is I would give you plenty of time for you to operate in your gift. Amen. Is that all right? You don't ever see me talking when the tongues are moving, do you? You don't ever see me talking when the interpretation's rolling around. You don't ever see me. I'm even careful not to talk too much in Brother Mark's class, because at that particular time, that is his class. That's his class at that particular time. He's been placed in that seat right there. I know now I chime in every now and then, but at that particular time, that is his class. Amen. And I don't try to come over and be overbearing on you or whatever. God, you ought to be praying, and you ought to be listening, and the Lord will place on your heart what you ought to bring up there, and how to kind of operate that thing. But you make sure that you have listened to God or whatever you are doing in there. All right? Amen. It'll operate. But the thing of it is sometimes I want to work with this because we get so much caught up in the minor stuff I've been telling you, and a lot of us are mature. We're mature Christians in here, all right? And the thing of it is we don't know, a lot of us don't know what are the fivefolds and all the gifts of the Spirit, and even how to exercise it, how to activate it. And we spend so much time fighting and disputing on, am I completely saved? Am I completely forgiven? And I think I might be forgiven. I'm standing behind the pulpit. He's probably preaching, all right? It might be time to move on from my Lord, and move on to the gift, all right? So the first gift is apostle. Apostle. All right. And the apostle, and I just get a few definitions. I'll be the first successful Christian missionary in a country or to a place. He's usually the church planter. That's what the apostle's job is. He's usually the church planter, all right? A vigorous and pioneer advocate, supporter of a particular policy, ideal, or case. That's usually what the apostle's job is. He's the church planter. The next one is a prophet, a person regarded as an inspired teacher or proclaimer of the will of God. A person who speaks for God or deity or by divine inspiration. A person chosen to speak for God and to guide the people of Israel. That's what a prophet is. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've always thought the prophet was the guy that told the future. See, these are just very minor things on the top of what these gifts are. You can do whole studies on what the gifts are. And because the thing of it is many of us are spending time praying for the gift that you may have already been given. And if you're praying for what you have already been given, then you can't activate it. Because if I know that I have been given the gift of that, then all I got to do is grow in it.
Yes.
All right? So you will move from oh Lord, give it to me, to how do I use it? Do you see the difference there? And I thank God for the church that is very patient with me because I'm growing in my gift.
That's right.
Amen. The church is patient for me. You know, my Lord, there's but one way to grow, church. And the only way that I found truly to grow is to crawl.
Come on.
God will put you crawling. My Lord, and squirming up there in front. Y'all seen me squirming here a time or two. I didn't know if I was going to make it all the way to the end of the sermon. But I made it. The Lord carried me through. And it's times like that God will teach you the most. When you got to crawl to make it. When He put more weight on you, so much weight on you that you thought you was about to throw in the towel. But you hung in there. That's how you became strong.
Yes.
My Lord. And what you praying for God to throw up off you is what's training you. All right?
Yes.
Amen. I want you to understand that. It's what's training you, church. And a lot of us will be like, oh, God, take it off me, take it off me. But what I've come to understand and fully rely on God, because while I'm crawling, we sing in the song, I can't even walk without you holding my hand. I've learned how to rely on God. If He's not going to come through, it's not going to come through. So therefore, I have learned how to build my faith when I'm crawling down in the valley. Oh, Lord Jesus. And that's how God teaches us, church.
Yes.
Amen. The next stage is an evangelist, a person who seeks to convert others to Christian faith, especially by public preaching. A lay person engaged in Christian missionary work. Amen. That's an evangelist, a pastor, a minister in charge of a Christian church or congregation. A pastor is the leader of a Christian congregation who also gives advice and counsel to people from the community or congregation. A pastor must be may be ordained or may or not. Even a lay person may serve in this capacity. Pastors are to act like shepherds by caring for the flock. And this care includes teaching.
That's right.
That's a pastor.
Come on.
Then you got intercessors. Does anybody know what an intercessor is? My Lord. Amen. Some of you in here, I believe, are intercessors. And you know what an intercessor is you're praying more than the person sitting beside you. So God can't talk to the person sitting beside you, but because you're praying more, He can talk to you, and you can talk to the person sitting beside you. Amen.
Yes.
You may have a kinfolk that you're praying for right now. You're interceding for that person. And while God can't get through to that person, He can get through to you, in which you can go and talk to that person. Intercessor. Lord. A person who intervenes on behalf of another, especially a prayer, by prayer.
Yeah.
Mr. Orris, I believe you're an intercessor. I fully do. I've seen you go over to people's lives, I can tell you something, or whatever. You can start praying for them, and they feel better after they get through talking to you. I've seen it, all right? It's intercession. Because you are a whole step closer to God than they are. You spend more time in the prayer closet than they do. So that allows you to go. You felt God when He talked to you or whatever. You felt that I needed to go talk to that person and lift them up or whatever, I've been preaching in the congregation. All of a sudden, you started almost crying because I feel somebody so sad sitting in there. You can feel those things when you're sitting in there. I don't know, God will allow you to feel it. And in the same sense, God's got me very tightly connected to this building because of the position. I've got mad for no reason. And didn't understand why I was so mad. And me, myself, wasn't mad, but God was angry about it. And I felt His angry. And He would have fired me.
Yes. Come on.
My Lord, last Sunday I was up here preaching, and all of a sudden somebody in the back starts talking over me. And before I know it, it just bubbles out my mouth. Somebody talking over me. And you can laugh all you want to, but at that particular time, God's words was more important than what that person was saying.
Amen.
Because those was God's words.
That's
And I know
right.
they was
That's
there
right.
and whatever, but special way of lighting a fire in people.
Yes, He does.
Also known, here we go, speaking in tongues. You've just seen that phenomenon. My Lord, the interpretation of the tongues. The fivefold ministry, church. My Lord. And also known as Klausalea. I don't know if you know those named that or not. It's another name for speaking in tongues. Interpretation of the tongues. My Lord, a lot of times the same person that speaks it in here interprets it. Amen. And sometimes it don't, but I believe that is to be the divine word of God for the house.
Amen.
I fully believe that. But I want to work with you on this for a minute because I believe that all these gifts ought to be operating in God's house.
Yes.
We ought to get them operating in this house. Why? Because every one of them is for the edification of this house.
That's right.
My Lord. And see, if you start getting conceited and thinking about self and all those things, you ain't got kingdom value in your head.
Amen.
All right?
Amen.
Now, we may be called for different purposes, just like different parts of the body. My elbow and my hand do two different things, but we are the same body.
Yes.
I want you to understand that we are the same, that it is part of the same arm,
Yes.
each one of us. And sometimes we'll get caught up on you can tell, and I believe this comes from the devil, because we'll get more caught up on what that person's doing and what they're not doing, and we will miss the big picture is that that's your thumb over there, you better not run them off.
Exactly.
It is already.
Yes, it is.
I'm preaching it to you because you need that person. If my thumb ain't working exactly right, don't mean I still want it. I still want it, We might have to talk and do put some Band-Aids on it or something like that, and whatever. But eventually, I'm going to work with it enough till it works right.
That's right.
And that's the same way with the people here. The Lord told me personally that I can't do it all on my own.
Come on.
There ain't one of you in here that can do the whole church on your own.
Oh, no.
I want you to understand that. That's why we're all here. Each one of us bring a little different gift and a little different something to the table, all right? And that makes up the body. Now, verse 12 of 1 Corinthians there. Now, how about the gifts of the Spirit? Brothers and sisters, I do not want you to be uninformed. You know that when you were pagans somehow or other, you were influenced and led astray to mute idols. Therefore, I want you to know that no one who is speaking by the Spirit of God says Jesus is cursed. And no one can say Jesus is Lord except by the Holy Spirit. There are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them.
Yes.
There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of workings, but in all of them and in every one, it is the same God at work. The same God. Now I want to work with you on this because the Lord never does nothing without a purpose. The tongue comes through the night to encourage you.
Yes.
There was purpose tonight. All right? Your numbers may be small, but the Lord is with you. Be encouraged.
That's right.
All right. I want you to understand that. Oh, Lord. And this is the way... You've heard me talk about the prophecies that's been prophesied over me. He didn't come to tell me, Brother Cody, you're going to wear this kind of shoes and not another kind of shoes. God comes and tells you them things when He's going to give you a big shift. There's a purpose for Him to speak over your life. He'll come tell you when something's about to change. There's about to be a big change or something. That's when God comes to talk to you. He don't tell you that you're going to eat this kind of cereal, not that kind of cereal. He don't send those gifts for no reason, church. He sends them. There's always a purpose when God activates His gifts, all right? My Lord, and I don't know what all's been spoken over you and what you got going on, but whenever He said it, there was a purpose for it.
Exactly.
There was always a purpose in everything He did. Now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. There you go, the common good.
Yeah.
Amen. And whatever the common good is, all right? Oh, now I don't know how to use it out the common good, but let's say that Brother Mark's over here boo-hooing, he's crying and he's all broke down, and I come over here and I used to get a correction on him real fast. That wouldn't necessarily be for the common good, would it? He probably needed encouragement at that particular time. He probably needed lifted up, maybe a hug at that particular time or something. And if we don't watch it, we'll start. You make sure that when God sends a gift, it is for the common good. It's for the edification. It is for the build-up. And even sometimes when He is correcting, it is for the build-up of the church. It's for the overall good. And if we get caught up in looking at the little things, the minor things, then we will miss the big picture. And so the devil always wants you looking at the little things and the minor things and looking at what she's not doing right and he's not doing right. And it becomes nitpicking and ugly. But when you're looking at the overall thing, all right, the overall thing is that all of us showed up. The overall thing is that we're all here to praise God. The overall thing is that we're all on one mind and one accord to praise the Lord. That's the overall. You got to look at oh, Lord Jesus, I want you to understand while you're looking across that other person and something just ain't right with them, when you're looking at them, they could be looking back at you and saying, something just ain't right with you either. Come on, I ain't got it all together, all right. Maybe this one ain't quite right with me. There you go. Amen. Is that all right? But we're all together in one house, one body, one accord. And I'm not going to cut my arm off because it ain't operating right. And I don't want to get rid of my leg because it ain't operating right. I nurture that thing. I take care of that thing. And that's what we're supposed to do as a church house. I don't care if that thing's bummed up and it's limping and it ain't hidden right. I don't care. I'm going to nurture that thing. And Angel, if you're down and you're sick, I'm going to nurture you. I'm going to try to take care of you until you get back up here and you do it right. All right? That's what the church house is supposed to do. That's how we operate up here. But He's distributed this Spirit to build it up. You know, I count my blessings this morning. I was looking around, and there was a whole bunch of couples in here this morning. My Lord, there was I don't know what we have 4 or 5 couples in here this morning. My Lord, young couples too. Some of us. I don't know if you realize or not, there's a whole statistics on marriage right now, and it ain't looking very good. So we need to be an influence on that, and because the enemy come to kill, steal, and destroy, he want to tear them things down. I thank God for them people in the church. Amen. Anyway, He gives these spirits, He gives these gifts, church, and it's all for the edification of the church. Now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. To one, there is given through the Spirit a message of wisdom. To another, a message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit. To another, faith by the same Spirit. To another, gift of healing by that one Spirit. To another, miraculous powers. To another, prophecy. To another, distinguishing between spirits. To another, speaking in different kinds of tongues. And to still another, the interpretation of tongues. Now, I want you to understand something. If you ain't got the gift of distinguishing between spirits, don't try to be operating what you ain't got. Because some people go around painting horns on everybody. Amen. And I got that gift. I can tell all of them, right, you know. But no, if you ain't got the gift, then don't go with it, all right? Because we just paint something on everybody. Amen.
Amen. Come on.
Amen. If you got the gift, though, it is a very good gift to have.
Amen.
Amen. Because it is. And God puts these things in their church just as He's determined. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and He distributes them to each one just as He determines. He distributes them.
That's right.
You know what I've come to find out in my calling and my gift, that I am drawn to what He has gifted me to. I'm drawn to it. Amen. And I don't know if this leads you anywhere, but you'll be drawn to your gift. You'll be drawn to people that operates in your gift. I'm drawn to it. Amen. I value God's Word above all things. I do. I just to hear from God. I could probably sit for eternity and just hear God. My Lord, and I don't know. You will be drawn to whatever it is. My Lord, when I'm looking for a good preacher on there, I'm more drawn to prophets preaching than anything else. Amen. You'll be drawn to it. Amen. My wife, my Lord, sometimes all I hear is just music. Be drawn to it. I don't know what your gift is, but you'll be drawn to it. There's a drawing inside you. And He's already been distinguished, church. It's already been determined by God. You didn't determine it, God determined it.
Yes.
Amen. Just as a body through one has many parts, but all its many parts form one body.
Right.
It's all one body, church. And I'm not going to drag you out up to and spoke like he was going to? He's done spoke to you.
Amen.
I want you to understand something. That we are all one body in this house.
That's right.
Yes, we are.
And we are a loving body. I want you to get it. And I keep repeating it, but if my foot ain't operating right, I still care for it.
Yeah.
We ought to look for the overall common good of the church.
Thank you, Lord.
Amen. And you know that the body, if it's working correctly, works together to accomplish a task. So if I'm the enemy and I want to break up what God's trying to do, I put division in the body. Amen.
Yes.
And then what you are doing is you're spending more time fighting with the person next to you instead of focusing on what the devil's doing. And fighting him and accomplishing your goal. Because let's face it, if all of my body is moving in one direction, accomplishing the same thing, it's easier to accomplish it, ain't it?
Yes, it is.
But when we start, when my knee goes out and both of my legs are knocking because they are fighting one another and ain't nothing working right, you ain't going nowhere.
That's
So
right.
the enemy, the number one thing he wants is division in the
Yes,
church
that's
house.
right.
Division in marriage, division in all things, because he come to divide, church. Because if he can divide, he can conquer.
That's right. That's it.
That is so true.
It
It's
is
so
the
true.
truth, and that's why sometimes out the blue, your wife ain't acting right. Amen. Sometimes out the blue, I might not be acting right.
Right.
Come on.
But you got to look at the overall common good. She loved me somewhere in there. Get on there. But it is, church, and that's what maybe I had a hard day, and he used that to his advantage or whatever, or she had a hard day or whatever, but his overall objective is to try to get us fighting and feuding and try to tear us apart, because we're good together.
That's
We're
right.
stronger together.
That's right.
And the same way with the church house.
Amen.
Amen. You can stand with me, church. I'm